What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Week 8 is complete. We are about halfway done the NFL season, and we're seeing some clarity. We're seeing stats come together. We're seeing, you know, the players that we've known to produce. They're finally producing. Things are starting to make sense. What's up, Jeremy? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How you doing?
Good, man. How your league's working out?
It's going okay. I won the majority of my leagues this week, so it was a good week. Good
Yeah.
fantasy week. Lots of points.
I agree. Yeah, I think
Uh,
the general takeaway for me was just generally high scoring. We kind of understood where the scoring was going to come from. Yeah, I don't know about you, man, but my teams were like until like the last 2 weeks, and I've just been crushing the last 2 weeks. So I don't know if that's kind of like, a lot of my teams are built on depth and bye weeks have come along and players have got injured and still, you know, getting those W's. But yeah. So, yeah, what's your main takeaway, for this past week and kind of just how you've seen the season unfolding so far?
I think we saw a lot of fancy points this week. I think we're seeing some teams play a lot better. Some players that haven't been playing so well. I mean, CD Lamb went crazy. Dak went crazy. A few players that like should be doing better finally are doing better. So that's kind of my main takeaway. And then also just that the bad teams are still bad, man. That Jets Giants game was hard to watch.
Texans, Panthers. I mean, there was no
yeah,
surprise
yeah.
there, right?
There's yeah, that's another bad one. Just there were some bad games to watch there. And the Mahomes flu game. Uh, did you hear what did he really have the flu or just did he just play badly?
I don't know. I mean,
They're
if
calling it the
the
flu game.
sure. I mean, except when Michael Jordan had the flu game, he won.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I mean, divisional game on the road, tough environment, mile high. You're gonna lose one of those every now and then. It just is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, those that are they're watching the video, thank you guys for joining in. Jeremy and I do this every week. We basically do like an hour and a half question and answer forum. We also recap like 5 or 6 games, go over players that we want to look to trade for, stuff like that. But mostly question and answer. If you guys have anything that you want answered, stop on by the channel any week, and we'll take care of your questions for you. But until people start to roll into the channel, we'll just do some game recaps. So, first game up, we always cover Buffalo Bills game, have to on Nickel City Mafia. Buffalo holds serve at home against a Tampa team that I think we're a little surprised. This team's not bad. Especially, they have some fantasy relevant players. But yeah, what was your main takeaways from this one?
Surprisingly, Baker still looks like fantasy relevant and decent. Also, did you catch the end of the game where Godwin didn't look up or he would have caught a touchdown to win? Did you
Dude,
see that?
like infuriating. So I
He just didn't look
I
up. He didn't know the ball's coming.
I have tons of Chris Godwin.
Oh, that's right. You love Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I do have a lot of him. And yeah, for those that didn't watch it, the Hail Mary, I mean, Derek, it was to win. I mean, it would have
Yeah.
tied and then the extra point was to win.
Yeah.
If Chris Godwin looks up a quarter of a second earlier, he has the easiest catch, no one
Right there. No
interfering
one
with
else was
him.
there. Yeah.
No.
Oh, just
That's a
fell behind
weird.
him. Overran
Isn't it
it.
weird when a Hail Mary thrown at 9 players doesn't touch anyone?
Yeah. I don't know that. I was trying to think of everything that happened. Usually somebody bats it or it hits somebody in the head or arm or
Yeah.
something.
Didn't touch a
But
soul.
man,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a
No,
interesting
was
ending
it
here.
was a fun game to watch. We had it going while we were streaming last week. There's some fun fantasy performances. We've been talking about Kincaid, not just because we're on a Buffalo channel, because we think he's very good at football, and he showed us that he is very good at football. And he's a guy who's only going to get better. I think every week we're going to see him do better and better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would say he's kind of cementing himself as the number 2 option there in the passing game, but Gabe Davis is having a pretty solid season and caught a TD in this one, almost 100 yards. So Kincaid and Davis will definitely, each have their blow up games, I think. And Diggs is always going to be there.
Yeah, Davis had his like career high receptions.
Eh,
Um,
True,
I think
9, yeah.
Davis is a sell high right now. Just I don't think he can put this up week in week out. It's just unreasonable to think he's going to keep catching 9 passes.
Okay, let's talk about that for
So
a second. That's an interesting take. No, I mean, I'm kind of with you. Let's see. First, let's find out where he is on the year, in wide receiver rankings, and then we can kind of see. So he's wide receiver 21 on the year,
Yeah,
which I think you're
that's
pretty
pretty
happy
good.
with. So you've been doing well if you draft him. So who are we thinking to sell him for? Like, so Gabe Davis or Garrett Wilson?
I mean, I go Wilson there. I don't think you're getting, but he's worth. That's a worth a trade offer. Somebody could be just done with the Jets. Be like, Wilson sucks. Both Wilsons on the team suck right now. Uh, Garrett Wilson will
Uh,
be amazing. He'll be fine, but just right
okay.
now, fantasy wise, it's not great. Maybe somebody wants to get rid of him, and I would take Wilson and trade that away.
Okay. Gabe Davis or Terry McLaurin?
See, that's tough. The Commanders are going into tank season mode. They just trade away
Yeah, but
two defensive pieces. We had a bad
Sam,
defense anyway.
that's good for the offense though.
Yeah,
keep
maybe they're gonna have to
keep
throw a lot
chucking it.
more, or
Yeah.
maybe they want to preserve Terry. I don't know, but I think Howell has something to prove, so I think he'll still be out there slinging. And he threw it to so many different guys this last game. We'll talk about it in a bit, but that part was fun to watch to see him like sling the ball around a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeremy's first suggestion of the week is Gabe Davis coming off a good game. When we know Dalton Kincaid is only going to have more and more of a role as each week passes, it might be a good time to sell Gabe Davis. I mean, here's an interesting one. Gabe Davis is ranked number wide receiver 21 on the year. Chris Olave is wide receiver 30. So that might be an
Yeah,
interesting flip where someone just looks at the numbers and says, okay, I'll take Gabe Davis. You can have Chris Olave. And I think we all would want Chris Olave rest of season over Gabe Davis. So
yeah.
might be something interesting to poke around with. If you think this Gabe Davis game was, a sell high moment.
Yeah. And
Um,
Shakir picks up 6 receptions here too for almost 100 yards. So that's like another receiver to kind of eat into the total there. Because we all know Diggs, even like this was a bad game for Diggs, right? And still went
mhm,
9 for 70. Like
mhm.
Diggs is always going to get his. And then it's who's behind Diggs. And we both think eventually it's going to be Kincaid. We think the talent is too good there. I will say though, on the Bills team, just for fantasy wise, very disappointing performance for James Cook. He still gets though. He gets all the carries. He gets just the one reception is where like it hurts us, right? We want him to be the receiving back, and that's kind of like maybe it was a game script for that game. I don't know. I think he'll bounce back and be fine. I think this was just like a down game for him for whatever reason.
So unfortunately, I think the answer is that no one is the receiving back for the Bills
Yeah,
because Josh Allen doesn't really check the ball down to running backs, and you can say the same for a lot of running quarterbacks. It's like if the play breaks down, their brain goes to scramble and go pick up 6 or 7 yards. They don't look for the running back like your Tom Brady's, your Peyton Manning's, your Aaron Rodgers always did. So yeah, just I don't think that James Cook. It's disappointing to say, but I think he is what he is, and on this team, he's not going to ever be that, 4, 5, 6 catch a game guy. I mean, that he kind of was in college. So a little bit is what it is.
I think it could still happen. I don't know. He's had a couple games like that. I'm hoping that changes. I like him
Depends on
still.
game script, maybe. Yeah, it
Yeah,
depends how they
that
play.
might be part of it.
Yeah,
But
but
on the Baker side of the ball, we see Rashad White finally has a great game, which I'm happy about. I liked him this year. He gets 7 receptions. That's what we wanted. He's the pass catching guy. Your boy Godwin still does pretty good. He outperforms Mike Evans. That one is kind of tough for me. Who do you like better rest of the year, Godwin or Mike Evans?
I mean, maybe in a PPR format, I'm going Godwin because he's probably going to get more catches, but you got to go Evans, I think. I mean,
He just has
as
that
much
like explosive potential, right?
he has
Just
he has weak winning
yeah,
upside. Godwin really doesn't. So, I love Godwin as like, a wide receiver 3 or a flex. I just think he's so
hmm
solid. But yeah, Evans for me. But I just like this offense for fantasy a lot more than I thought I would, because
yeah,
it's very, I think I'm going to say this word 5 times tonight, but it's like a funnel offense,
mm,
where this is good. We want to see box scores like this where it's like Rashad White gets his, Godwin gets his, Evans gets his, and Mayfield has a no interception game, and everyone's happy. So
Yeah,
yeah, I like the way the Bucks. This could have easily been a disaster of a fantasy season for White, Godwin, and Evans, and it's not really a disaster for any of them. So
I
I
agree.
think
And
we like that.
Kate Otten also gets 4 for 26, and he gets or 4 for 27. Sorry, and he gets 6 targets, which is the important part. 6 targets for the tight end. That's decent. I think if you're in a you're in a bind and he's available, he's somebody that can fill in for a week or something
Yeah, he's
going
probably
forward.
a back end tight end too, but yeah, a
Yeah,
neat little player to keep your eye on. We talk about like just regular fantasy football leagues here mostly, but I do if anyone out there plays dynasty fantasy football, absolutely love Trey Palmer as a stash. He caught at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 touchdowns in the preseason.
yeah.
Absolute, track star level speed, and he has really his snap counts have gone up like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. He played over 80% of the snaps in this game.
He saw 6 targets, same as
Yeah,
Evans. Godwin only saw 7. That's yeah,
so, he's the player that has the traits, has the pedigree, super, super fast, has good size. I just think he's a good stash in Dynasty. I have him on a couple of my Dynasty leagues. So
yeah.
go
Same here.
check him out. I think he's not worth picking up in season long, but if you're in a keeper Dynasty league, I think he's worth a roster spot.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about our boy Josh Allen. Just Josh Allen. I think it's because he does this every week. He puts up these monster numbers and is just good
Dude,
for
you're
fantasy.
right. I mean, he had over 350 total yards and 3 touchdowns, and we didn't even mention his name.
Yeah,
That's actually disrespectful, and I apologize to you and the channel and to Mike. Sorry about that.
we just expect it now. He should
I
always put
know
up a bajillion
it's
points every week. Yeah,
it just is what it is,
yeah,
right? I mean, let's see, is he QB1 on the year? He is.
yeah.
Yeah, and this was his second highest fantasy output of the year. So yeah, low key, just great fantasy game by Josh Allen. Yep, we're so used to it that we just glaze over it.
Yeah,
He's the
exactly.
best. I mean, so rest of season, and I know no one's like making this trade, but who do you think will score more points, Allen, Hurts, or Mahomes?
Oof. I mean, right now you got to go with Allen. He's just like the most consistent of the three. Although I mean, Hurts is having good games too, but Allen's getting it done on his with the legs. He's getting it done in the air. Like he just they've had don't get me wrong, they've had some bad games, but for the most part, I think you got to stick with Allen here.
Yeah, yeah, I tend to agree. Especially with Kincaid coming on, Gabe Davis coming on, Shakir having a good game. He's got a nice little bundle of weapons there, so I think I'll stick with you there. All right. Well, next game we'll go over to is my hometown boys, the Ravens, head to Arizona and win. It shows as a close game. Wasn't really a close game.
Yeah, the refs helped him cover the spread, right?
Yeah, yeah. The
It's another
Cardinals.
weird game where they came back just enough to cover the spread somehow.
Well, yeah.
It's not fixed though.
I know the first drive of the game, the Cardinals just looked like absolute doo doo, but they kept getting penalties on third downs, and the refs like just walked them right in the end zone. And then the last drive of the fourth quarter, kind of the same thing, and then they got an onside kick and yada yada yada. So this game was not close, even though the score shows it
No,
was close.
it wasn't.
Um,
I think the biggest factor, like fancy wise, out of this game is Gus the Bus. He's the guy there. Like we weren't sure. He seemed to be a little bit, but Justice Hill's still getting some work. He gets like all the carries this game. Justice Hill gets more of the passing work, which is what we thought. We thought that was going to happen. But Gus is like the workhorse. And you said there was a chance for him to do that. You called it last week. You were like, I think Gus could be the workhorse here. This is opportunity. If they don't get Derrick Henry, go out and get somebody. 19 carries, 80 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he still catches twice. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
he's got to be a starter going forward. Is he RB1 going forward? Is he top 12?
Oof. I think that's pushing it.
Yeah.
But I
High
think
RB2?
I think he's a solid RB2. In a PPR league, maybe like a mid to back end RB2. In a standard league, probably high end RB2. But yeah, they didn't add anyone. Word on the street was had a trade through for Henry, and then the owner of the Titans vetoed it. And then also really strong rumors that the Ravens were all in on Josh Jacobs. And then
Wow.
that didn't happen
They
because
should have done that.
well, the Raiders fired everyone, so I guess
Yeah.
they just didn't want to make any moves. But
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, Gus is looking spry. I mean, he's definitely not young, 28 years old, I think. But I mean, you can't argue what he's done in back-to-back games. Over 25 fantasy points back-to-back games. So um,
Yeah.
pretty great. Lamar just has like a ho hum game because
Yeah.
he didn't really need to do anything. The Ravens,
No,
you know,
he usually
controlled
gets
the
a rushing touchdown
turnovers.
there too. Gus took three. They could have given Lamar one of those, like
Yeah,
just to help out the fantasy people.
yeah.
So
But
that's
what?
he. I feel like he usually gets a rushing touchdown every game. He's like Josh Allen in that aspect
Yeah,
lately. So he gets that rushing touchdown. That makes a big difference on his fantasy score. Mark Andrews still has a great game. Zay Flowers has a bad game, but 5 receptions on 7 targets. You're not worried about him. He's gonna, you're still gonna start him. I think, but no one. You're not starting anybody else.
no, I
The rest
actually
of the receivers,
you just read my note. It's like
yeah,
as good as the Ravens offense is, there's only four players you can start on the Ravens: Lamar, Andrews, Gus, and Zay Flowers. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, so we got to answer. Sorry, a question here that we'll answer. Josh, thanks for coming to hang out, man. Rate
Shh.
my phew,
Josh, you're
six,
just showing off there, bud. Just showing off,
16,
man.
16. Is it a 16 team league or a 16
16
man?
man lineups. I guess there's six. There's some, I don't know, but if it's a 16 team, it's even better than it looked at the start. But Burrow, CMC, Kamara, Amon Ra, Sun God, Jamar Chase, Logan Thomas, Brees Hall, it's Chiefs D, Jake Elliott. Your only position you have to upgrade there is tight end. Logan Thomas has been legit. The problem there is he's injury prone. The Commanders aren't going to win. But I don't know who you trade to upgrade him. If you got somebody on your bench, maybe go after like Goddard on the Eagles. He's not playing too well. People might be looking to move him. Chris and I both love Jake Ferguson on Dallas. If you can grab him, I think he's a good backup to have with Logan Thomas. Right? Would you even start him over Logan Thomas depending on
Kincaid
matchups? Yeah, if you can get Kincaid, I feel like now he's a hot
or
commodity and
or
might be a little
Trey
tough to
McBride?
get. Yeah.
Trey
But yeah,
McBride. We were just talking about the Ravens
Trey
game.
McBride, so I'm like a little worried about him because Dobbs is gone now. We didn't mention that. We didn't get to the
Yeah, we
Arizona
didn't get
side
to
of the
the
ball yet.
Arizona side yet, but
Yeah, so I'm a
yeah,
little
I think
worried.
nice looking
But with
team,
Murray
Josh.
back,
But I would upgrade your tight end position. Logan Thomas,
yeah,
he ain't it. So but the good thing is I just think there's so many viable tight ends that are just up and coming now. So Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, who's the Green Bay guy that it's just completely missed.
Musgrave.
Yeah, Musgrave,
Yeah,
Jake Ferguson. I mean, any of those guys. I think one of them will be unowned in a league. So
yeah.
I would add one of those guys rather than keeping Logan Thomas. Cool. Well,
Next
yeah.
one, his next roster, he's got Lamar, JT, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Christian Kirk, Kittle, and Myers. I don't think you need to upgrade anybody there, man. You're crushing it. Maybe Myers with all the turmoil going on in Vegas right now. Um, I don't know who
Yeah.
you'd get for Myers. Maybe somebody off the. We're gonna talk about some waiver wire people at the end of the show,
How do you
but
feel about
some
Aaron
guys that are
Aaron
hot.
Jones? I mean, he's kind of done next to nothing recently, right?
He's been like a little banged up. I think he'll bounce back and be all right. And you're not gonna be able to trade him for anything.
No,
So I think you're
no,
kind of
that's
stuck with him. He's one of those guys where you're stuck with him unless you have a backup you can put in and
yeah,
play matchups.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little worried about Aaron Jones, a little worried about Jacoby Myers, but other than that, I mean, for a 20-team league, that's a sick
yeah.
roster, and
You're
you're not
probably
going to lose.
solid with it. Yeah,
You're not going to lose very often.
yeah,
If you have Tyreek Hill in a 20-team league, you're going to win a lot of games.
yeah. He'll single handedly win them for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh
So
yeah. So
yeah, Arizona side of the ball in the Ravens game, Trey McBride full blown breakout game, 14 targets, 10 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Made a couple of really tough highlight reel catches. Zach Ertz has 3 more weeks on the IR at a minimum. Um, yeah, so Josh Dobbs out at QB, kind of shocking. Um, didn't really think he played that bad this year, to be honest.
He
Uh,
became fantasy relevant and startable. I mean, even throwing 2 picks, he threw 2 touchdowns and he rushed for a touchdown. He had 26 rushing yards. I think he's good for Minnesota. Like it means like for a second there, when Kirk went down, I was like, Justin Jefferson's not coming back this year. Addison's value just plummeted. Hawk is done. Like, but with Dobbs there, they're all fantasy relevant again. He can throw the ball. He can move it around. I think Minnesota is going to be like okay for fantasy purposes.
yeah, agreed. That was a really good trade for them. I
Yeah,
mean, they're 4-4, right? So I think they're
think so.
still kind of in it. So yeah, good trade for them to pick up Dobbs. He seemed a little underappreciated in Arizona. Clayton Tune will get the start this week for Arizona. And if I had to guess, I think week 10 they have a bye. No, they don't have a bye till week 14. But I
Yeah,
think Kyler Murray's coming back week 10.
I think so too. That seems to be what they're hinting at. We'll see. He's had like 2 weeks of supposedly fully
Full
participating
practice. Yeah.
practice. So I'm kind of surprised with like the trade. They're not bringing him in this week, but they want to play it safe. I don't. Maybe they want to see what Tune has. Like, who knows?
You
Um,
might as well give Tune a week or
Arizona
two. I mean,
sucks. So
you're 1-7. You're playing
yeah,
for the number one pick, right? So,
yeah. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's
but I
just
think,
practice at this point.
I think it's the writing's on the wall that Kyler Murray's coming back either week 10 or week 11. So that's good for Trey McBride. That's good for Hollywood Brown. That's good for Michael Wilson. That's good for everyone. So, yeah, this offense should be kind of exciting the second half of the
Yeah,
year.
Michael
Yeah.
Wilson looks good. He gets 6 targets, 4 for 58. He's a sneaky grab if you got space on your bench. He's sitting on the waiver wire. He's like a sneaky grab to pick up. I think him, Marquise Brown, McBride is all you really want
Yeah.
from the receiver core. We didn't talk about Amari DiMercado, who gets all of the carries in this game.
So,
People
what do
weren't
you know
sure.
about James Conner? Because I'm behind on that injury.
I have been checking. I've seen zero updates on him. I have him in like 2 of my bigger leagues and just nothing. I I'm hoping I think he would be designated to come back week 11, I want to say when I checked, if they bring him off IR when they can. So I assume like we'll find out maybe after this weekend we'll start hearing stuff or after
Okay.
week 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, DiMercado I think he got a decent amount of run last week, 20 carries this week. Um, you know, not much in the passing game, but anyone that gets 20 carries is fantasy relevant. I don't care who they are. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a kind of a must add until James Conner is back.
If he's somehow still available, he's got to be like the top ad this week for
Yeah,
sure.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yep. So Josh Dobbs, last time we'll see you wear red and white. Thank you for your service, my friend. And yep, thanks for keeping, Hollywood Brown afloat for the fantasy season so far. All right. So next game, let's go into New Orleans and Indy. I'll just have to say the time comes every year, and it's here already this year. Taysom Hill is just screwing shit up.
Yeah.
And dude, I don't know, like he has to be one of the more frustrating people because he's always like there's 1 or 2 weeks every year where everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Taysom Hill number 1 waiver wire," and then he kind of does nothing for
Yeah.
like 4 weeks. It's like, do you think he's just like so game plan dependent of how they want to use him? I mean, there's never been another player, it seems, that impacts a game like Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill.
I don't know. It's absolutely crazy to me. Like how he's used in this game. He's at quarterback. He's a running back. He gets 9 carries. He gets 2 touchdowns.
He had a catch. He had a
Then he gets a
catch.
catch. I know he gets a catch. I like. I don't know. And they're paying him quarterback money, right? Does his last contract was the quarterback money? It makes no sense to me, but it works right here. So whatever. I guess teams don't know what to do. That's why it works. It's the craziest thing. Like you never know when to start them. I think all we've learned from like this second year of Taysom Hill craziness, whatever, is he should be taken in best ball like every at the end of every bench.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
you're
know.
kind of
That's all I
right.
care.
Because he always has 2 weeks where he just has,
Yeah,
25 fantasy points for no reason.
yeah,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I don't know. The Saints, they're frustrating because Taysom Hill just gets points that should go to other people. And, that's frustrating. Derek Carr is having kind of a decent little year. Back end QB2, but, has some pop games, threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mhm.
Those are mostly coming off the big plays of Rashid Shaheed. This stat's going to blow your mind. This year, in half PPR scoring, Rashid Shaheed has more points than Chris Olave.
Yeah, he's had
Fact.
some epic games. I mean, you still
I'll
see
be
Olave with the most targets, 9 targets here. It's going to come for him, but Rashid Shaheed should probably be on everybody's roster. Like he shouldn't be on waivers anymore. He's a little bit
yeah,
of a boomer bust guy. He gets 3 catches and gets 153 yards. It's not going to
but
happen every
that's
game.
that's kind of his thing, right? I mean, he's
It
kind
is.
of like, he's the, what McCole Hardman or Marquez Valdez Scantling were in like 2020. That's where Rashid is now. But I'll be honest, I never actually watched, him play. This dude can freaking move. He is so fun to watch play. With the ball in his hands, he's just like, I think Rashid Shaheed is what we all thought and wanted Kadarius Toney to be,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
he's just like, you can't tackle this guy in a phone booth. He's like absolutely slippery, blazing speed, really cool player, really fun to watch. Um, yeah, let's just finish up on the Saints, then we'll answer your question, Liam. Thanks for coming by. We'll get to you in 1 second. Kamara, just you, I'll have to bow down to you on this one.
Yeah,
You were right. I was wrong. I said, I
I
said,
was
well,
waiting for it.
I will stand by what I said. Alvin Kamara last year looked like shit. He did not play well. He was not efficient with his touches. He was getting points, but like he didn't look good doing it. This year, I don't know, new workout regimen, steroids, time in jail. He did a lot of pull-ups. I don't know what
Yeah,
happened, but he looks great and he's just absolutely crushing. So I'll let you comment
he's
on
doing
your
it both on. He's doing it
victory
on the
lap there.
ground and on the air. He's getting all the carries. People thought maybe Condre Miller or Jamal Williams would like cut into his share. Nope, it's all the Kamara show. He's just right back to being good again. I think he's one of my like trade for targets, even though like buy high. I think he's just going to do this the rest of the season. He's going to keep getting all these passing targets. Honestly, 4 receptions is low for him. He's been getting like over 10 every week. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
But he's great. Other than that, like fancy wise for them, Michael Thomas 4 for 68 is like okay. He's going to be what like a wide receiver 5 the rest of the season or so, and he's got a couple. He'll catch a touchdown here or there and jump up.
I
But
I put a tweet out like a week ago. It's like Michael Thomas is having a mid off with himself every week. It's like he has the literal exact same stat line every single
yeah,
week. It's actually like someone needs to go look it up. It's hilarious.
I loved
Um,
Michael Thomas when he was like the best fantasy wide receiver. Just can't
oh
guard
yeah,
Mike. He's
can't card Mike.
so good. But
Yeah,
it's
now he's just like, you know, that slightly above average slot guy that's, never gonna, do much of anything.
yeah. Oh,
All
hey
right,
Liam,
Liam.
is this a 1 or 2 quarterback league? Because if you're seeing Stroud and Lawrence there, just out of curiosity, if you want to answer that one while we go over it. So the question 2 and 6, something needs to change. He's got Stroud, Lawrence, Bijan, Jacobs, Cup, Devonta Smith, Komet, Ridley, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Pierce, Sutton, Dell, Connor. What does he do? You've had some bad luck, man, and unfortunately, just so many of those players got to slow starts or
You
didn't
know
like
why?
Taylor and Cup not
You
starting
can't. Yeah,
just
you
hurt you.
can't. You can't draft Taylor and Cup. So I would like to first point some things out. So Liam's first sentence is him realizing something that most people never realize.
It's
Something
true.
needs to change. Dude, so I was at work today. My computer was with my IT department for like 3 hours. I had no computer. I was just on my phone. I sent out 25 trades today on Sleeper. And on redraft leagues, I target the players that are in last, second to last. Obviously I think they should know something needs to change, and try to offer them something that I think will help their team too. And people are just like, nope, I'm fine. I'm 0-8. Nope, it's fine. I'm like,
Yeah,
you just gonna do nothing? Like,
yeah,
you have to do something. I don't care. like a league you and I play together, Jeremy. You saw I traded like three really good players for Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler sucked all year, but I was like, I'm gonna stir the pot and try to,
Yeah,
bounce back. You got to try something, right?
I think so too. He's saying he got Cup in the second and traded for JT a week before he returned. Yeah, that was a good idea. I think the first thing you need to do here is find a team that needs a quarterback. There's guys
Mm-hmm.
who had Kirk Cousins, There's got to be a team like that and get rid of Stroud or Lawrence, whichever one they'll take. I think they're both been playing pretty well. I mean, I like Lawrence better, so try to get rid of Stroud. But at this
Lawrence
point,
is on bye this week, though. That's the
oh
problem.
right, Lawrence is on bye this week, so it might be kind of tough to trade. But you kind of maybe need to trade one of those and hope to get something for them. Like maybe package them with you're hurting a tight end, so maybe patch them with commit. We talked a little bit earlier about some tight end waiver options like Jake Ferguson for Dallas, Musgrave for Green Bay. Who else are we
Trey
talking
McBride.
about? Or trading for like Goddard
Mm-hmm.
or Kincaid if it's doable anymore. Some of the other guys, Connor, he's just a wait and see. Unfortunately, it sucks. I've
So
got him
here's
in
the
two
thing:
leagues
if
too,
you're
man.
if you're 2-6, you can't wait on Connor. I would go
Yeah,
to the first or second place team and give them Connor for any player that currently has a pulse, right? I
yeah,
mean, you just need something like give Connor and Tank Dell or Connor and Cortland Sutton for like a better wide receiver. You can't if you're 2-6, like you don't have any more losses to play around with. I mean, you might be able to lose one more game, but that's it. So, like the time is now. You can't wait until week 11 when Connor will be back. So I would say, out of desperation, because you are desperate, go to one of the top teams that has a little bit of room to maneuver and try to get rid of Connor and one other piece for a startable player.
yeah. Look for somebody on their bench. I traded Justin Jefferson away on a team where I only had a couple wins. It was like the worst team I have, and I traded him away for Deontay Johnson because who knows when Justin Jefferson's coming back. I did it last week. Deontay Johnson put up 17 points for me last week. And I won the game, so totally worth it. And
Yeah.
I'll have him for a couple more weeks. Well, Justin Jefferson, as soon as he's back, is week 11. At this actually maybe 12, I think, at the soonest. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, players that if you're 2-6, you can't have players on your IR. I'm sorry. You gotta move them to good teams and help yourself while you can because you're running out of time. So yeah, I'm with Jeremy. Ditch a quarterback, trade Connor, and you
try
need
to
a better
upgrade the tight end
tight end.
position
Yep, that's your
and
three things
try
to
to
work on.
upgrade a starting position there with using Connor and something else and find somebody on one of the top like four teams as benches.
But also, like Jeremy said, you're just a bit unlucky. I mean, Cooper
Yeah,
Cup's had two down weeks in a row. Um, yeah, but I think you'll be fine. JT's getting better every week. You have a good team, so just do a couple
yeah.
small moves, and I think you'll compete.
Nice segue, JT on the Colts.
Yeah. So our next game we'll go
Talk about
into.
them.
Oh yeah.
So we,
Oh
we went
yeah.
through New
No.
Orleans.
Yes.
Yeah,
Never mind.
went through New Orleans.
Yeah.
Onto the Colts. JT splits carries with Zach Moss this game. So still optimistic. We all know he's the more talented back. I wasn't very happy with his pass catching. They both only had one pass. But JT gets more of the yards. Zach Moss gets the touchdown run. Nobody wanted Zach Moss to run in for that touchdown. Even the Zach Moss owners were like, really? He's on my bench. Come on.
So Zach Moss, running back 4 on the year. I mean, when is this going to stop? I mean, you can't bench Zach Moss, right? I mean, I think I benched him in a league last week, and I was pissed about it. I mean, I don't know, man. They obviously want to run the ball. Is this just a situation where, like the Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon situation of like a year or two ago when they were kind of just both startable?
Yeah, I think it just means like JT is the every week starter, and Moss is just that flex play. If they're going to keep splitting it like this, especially if the Saints actually have a good defense, but if they're going against a team that doesn't have a good run defense, then I think Moss is definitely a high upside flex play if he falls in the end zone like he did this game. But then you go into like Minshew. I think we were just saying last week. I was saying I liked him for starting. He does okay, but not great this game. Downs was a great. Anyone who picked up Downs, good job. 7 for 72 on 9 targets is great. He doesn't get that touchdown because for some reason Ogletree gets a touchdown who no one cares about.
Never
And
even
then
heard of Drew
yeah,
Ogletree.
and then Michael Pittman is still great. 8 for 40 and a touchdown, 13 targets. He's a target hog there. So it's still Pittman,
13
then
targets and
Downs.
40 yards is not
Yeah,
great though.
no,
Yeah.
that part's not great, but his longest pass was 10 yards.
Hmm.
It's not
Yeah.
all on him. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I think we have four every week starters here, right? Taylor, Moss, Pittman, and Downs.
yeah.
Which is probably more than we thought for the Colts. And Minshew's streamable for sure. He didn't do much with his legs this week, but normally he does. And
Mhm.
Saints have a better than average defense, so yeah, decent game all around for what the matchup was. I mean, this is a higher scoring game than I think anyone thought. 65 points with these two teams is quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, let's head over to your hometown, boys. Commanders lose a tough one at home against the Eagles. Kind of
They're all tough.
squander a lead. They were in the game the whole game and just couldn't get it done. Tell me what you saw from your Commanders.
It's it's every week, man. They're in the game almost every week. Like except for that Bills game, which we're not going to talk about. Um, they're pretty much in the game like every week, and it's so frustrating to see them just lose. Um, like as the team outside of fantasy, I think they made the right moves, getting rid of some big profile defensive players, getting some picks back. It shows new ownership, and that's what I'm happy about. I'm happy about the new ownership doing something. I wish they traded Jacoby Brissett though, because like, what's the point? Teams want quarterbacks. We got calls about them. Anyway, other than that, fantasy wise, Sam Howell is great for fantasy. Apparently, all of a sudden,
QB eight
you got
on
to
the
start
year.
him. Yeah, you got to start him if you
QB
have him.
eight on the year. That
I
is
wouldn't have thought,
wild.
and I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
No, and they're going to have to keep getting rid of two of their best defensive guys. They already had the 31st ranked defense. They're going to have to keep throwing. Hopefully, it makes Sam Howell better, and he doesn't just get sacked a bajillion times. We'll see. But he spreads the ball around to 10 different receivers. Like it's a little crazy, or nine, sorry, but 10 different people got targeted. Dotson has his finally breakout game this year.
Is one and only.
Ev-
Good game.
His
Yeah.
one and only. Well, everyone was so high on him last year. The talent looked there, and this year just wasn't there until this game. Hopefully, it means he's turning things around. I don't think he's like a buy or sell right now. I think he's just a hold. Some Crowder comes out of nowhere. Crowder just does this every year, right? He has like a game or two where he just comes up and
So I was actually gonna say, I'll be dead honest. I didn't know Jamison Crowder was still in the NFL. Has he been playing
yeah.
all year?
I don't think he's been starting, but
Because their
it's
slot
crazy to
guy's
me. He
always
comes,
Curtis Samuel,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, Samuel, yeah. And
Okay.
Samuel doesn't
Well,
have a great game. He's been having a great season. Has been startable in the flex, but he doesn't have a great game. Running back wise, we see Gibson do nothing. It's all the B Rob show. Like, Brian Robinson doesn't do much on the ground. Gibson gets passes, and that's it. And then we got Scary Terry gets 5 for 63 and a touchdown, which is like just what you expect for him.
yeah. I was gonna say he's just like he's so cemented as
Yeah.
like we I think at one time in Dynasty we're like, oh man, like, he could flirt with like wide receiver one, type of upside. Nothing against him. It's just not him. I mean, he's just solid, right? I mean, he's always gonna be like the wide receiver 22 to 32-ish range. He's always gonna be a solid wide receiver two for your team. So yeah, I think he's a good little player. Let's see here. Yeah, Antonio Gibson just continues to crush my dreams. I have him on pretty much all of my
Me
dynasty
too.
teams, and he does nothing.
Yeah.
Sam Howell. So I have two leagues where I have Kirk Cousins, and they're dynasty leagues, and I think I'm gonna try to trade Cousins plus a little sweetener for Sam Howell. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it. It depends how people value Cousins, if they think he's coming back or not. But I like it. It also like Howell's an iffy player right now because we don't know what's going to happen next year. We don't know what ownership's
There-
going to do. But I think he's on that. They've got him on that rookie contract. He looks decent. Like, he doesn't look amazing yet, but he looks decent. He makes some smart plays. I think they're going to try to work with him and work with his rookie contract, and we'll probably draft, hopefully, defense.
Yeah,
Start
agree.
two.
Yeah, start two. Devonta Smith, Henderson. I'm assuming that's Henderson, the running back for the Rams.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
another
George
one.
Pickens. Yeah. What's your two? I know what mine are.
I would go Smith and Pickens.
Same. Yeah.
Henderson he has the upside. It's there. But after seeing how horrible the Rams were last week, it's hard to trust. And just Devontae Smith, he finally came back and had a great game. Eagles get the Dallas, which we're hoping is going to be a high scoring one there for all fantasy players involved. So I think Devontae Smith's a locked in start, and then Pickens has been doing pretty well. They always throw it to him. He gets all those contested catches.
Yeah,
So
he only
I'd go
had one. He
Pickens.
only had one catch this past week, but it was for a touchdown. It was a pretty impressive play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Henderson. Probably a decent floor play, but I'm gonna go with the upside of Devonta Smith is a definite, and then Pickens just has way more upside than Darrell Henderson, in my opinion.
Yeah, Henderson gets Green Bay, which is like isn't a bad matchup, right? But it's just like it's hard to trust the Rams offense
I
right
mean,
now.
Royce Freeman's there too. Like he's
Yeah.
just getting his just as many touches as Henderson. So, uh, Rams running back by committee. I'm gonna go George Pickens over that. But thank you for the question, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Plus
Subscribe
Pittsburgh
to
gets
the
Tennessee. Tennessee does not have a
yeah,
good pass defense.
Tennessee sucks. So
Yeah.
really good week to beat Deontay Johnson or George Pickens. One of them is gonna have a great game. Don't know which one it is. Thanks for the question, man. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We do a Q&A every week, so stop on by and hang out. Appreciate you. All right, where are we at? So now we're over to the
Eagles.
Eagles side of the ball.
Hurts
I would
just
have
like flings it.
I would have never thought that Jalen Hurts would have a high end QB1 week with only 6 rushing yards
Yeah.
and no TD, but it happened. Dude was just on fire, but not nearly as on fire as
AJ Brown.
dude. He just set an NFL record this week. Did you hear about
Yep.
that?
Yeah. Historic, man. He just
Yeah.
keeps putting up more and more points. I shouldn't have traded him to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, that was a pretty good trade though.
Yeah.
But AJ Brown sets the NFL record for most games in a row with 125 receiving yards, passing Megatron, Calvin Johnson. I think it's what 6 games in a row, 7 games in a
Yeah.
row,
Yeah.
something like
6.
that. 6, yeah. So guy is an absolute machine. Just entering his prime on an offense that just wants to run through him. So absolutely love to see it. Devonta Smith, kind of the breakout we've been waiting for. He's had a down year, but he's kind of been hanging in there. But this is what we wanted to see from Devonta Smith. So hopefully he's turning a corner here. And then DeAndre Swift just continues to be on fire.
Yeah, he doesn't have a great game here, but he gets the touchdown, so it's okay. And he's still getting all the carries, which is the important part. Gainwell gets more of the passing work, which is like a little concerning that they're going to start making it like more of like Gainwell gets all the passes and Swift is just getting the running. But if Swift still gets the touchdowns and he has those explosive plays, it's not going to matter. I will say I was disappointed in Goddard this week. I kind of thought with all the passing going around, he might get a little bit better yardage. But he just goes 4 for 36 here. He does get 7 targets. I think it'll still come for him. Just we might see like weeks like this and then like 15-point weeks.
Yeah, he's been good the past couple weeks before this. I'm not too worried about him. But yeah, DeAndre Swift, I think, I don't know. He must have just had beef with Detroit, right? Because they gave him away for pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
He's RB8 on the year, and he had no points in week 1. So pretty wild stuff. What he's doing. I mean, this offense is just one you want to be tied to. I was praying it was Kenny Gainwell because I have all of the Kenny Gainwell in Dynasty.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an L for me there. But hey, DeAndre Swift, this is the longest he's been healthy in a row too, right? So
Yeah. You just jinxed the crap out of him though.
well, I do have all the Gainwell, so that's
Uh,
fine. But yeah, Andrew, you said appreciate it. Yeah, no problem,
Yeah,
man.
thanks,
Come
Andrew.
back,
Yeah.
come back next week and ask some more questions. Okay, so on to our last game recap of the day, and then we'll do some players we're looking to trade for, and then we'll talk about some waivers. Bengals 49ers. Bengals go into San Fran and absolutely just lay the beat down on the 49ers. Are the Bengals just all the way back now?
Dude, Joey B is back. Jamar Chase is back. Even Higgins has a nice little game. Boyd gets a touchdown. I think they're back on track. We're just going to keep seeing them do better and better and better. They still got some tough games ahead. You know, their division is a hard division, except for the Steelers, who, you know, just don't have a defense and barely have an offense. But so I think they still got some tough games ahead, but it seems like they're clicking. They're firing all cylinders. Hopefully, they can just like carry this momentum through the rest of the season, and we see some amazing fantasy games from their players. Because Mixon finally has a good game too. Just all around fantasy wise, if you had a player in this game, you were feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be the injury early in the year for Burrow, and the team was just down because of that, right? I mean, they started off so slow, the offense looked putrid. But yeah, his last three games, he's all the way back. Really scary to see. As a Ravens fan and as a Bills, Bills channel, you don't want to see the Bengals on this kind of trajectory because when Joey B's healthy and Jamar Chase is running on all cylinders, they're tough to beat, and their defense is kind of sneaky good from time to time. Yeah, you mentioned Mixon. Interesting from him in half PPR scoring, he's never scored less than 8 points and never scored more than 18. So
Huh.
he's just like, that
He's never
high
scored more
end,
than 18? That can't be right.
not in half PPR. I'll read them to you. I was like pretty shocked about this.
From this year, probably, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
This
so
year.
he
Yeah,
has
yeah.
in half
Yeah.
PPR
That'll change.
scoring
He'll score more than 18.
8, 10, 13, 8, 9,
Yeah.
7, 17.
Yeah. I was like, he's had monster games years before.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
it could still happen.
Oh, that was in standard scoring.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it's all good. But no, Jamar Chase fans are super happy. Like I said, Higgins showing a little bit. He's on my buy list a little bit later. I think I said it last week too. I like T. I think he rebounds from this bad fantasy pointage going on. As the Bengals keep getting better, I think he'll just keep getting better.
Yeah, agree. He's a decent little buy low. I don't know who's going to sell him low now that Burrow's starting to play good, but it might be good to try. Okay, on to the other side of the ball. Even though the 49ers did get beat down, I think there's a lot of cool takeaways from this game, but tell me what you saw.
Like everyone's concerned about Purdy. He still throws for a ton of yards, but he throws 2 picks. And that wasn't like just the last few games. He hasn't looked like the game managing quarterback with an arm that he has been. They need to turn it around somehow. I don't know what that is. He needs a break, or just someone needs to get into his head and get him out of his own head. It's concerning for San Fran, for a team that is going to make a Super Bowl push this year. They went out and picked up Jamar. I almost said Chase Young from the Commanders, and he's going to immediately help that defense huge on the rush defense there. But my main takeaway is just CMC is untouchable.
Yeah, he's the goat. He's
Yeah.
absolutely the goat. Yeah, I don't know. Watching Purdy the last two games, it's worrisome, but every quarterback has a bad stretch of 2 or 3 games, especially seventh round QBs, right? I mean, I don't think it's panic time yet. He's played way too good for too long to just, everyone's freaking out about him over 2 games. I think he'll be fine. Just a little rough patch. I mean, if this continues for like 2 or 3 more games in a row, maybe start to get worried. But I mean, they can always go to Darnold, who's been kind of sitting and waiting in that system, or they could trade for Trey Lance. I'm just kidding. But anyway, my main takeaway from the 49ers was I just love this team for fantasy football. and I love them when one of their players is hurt. So every time,
Yeah, that's true.
like, you know
So
what I
true.
mean? So,
Yeah.
I'll say it again. They have the most funneled offense in the NFL. There's only three players that get more than two targets, right? So for damn sure every time the ball is in the air, Kittle, Ayuk, McCaffrey. That's the only
Yep.
options, right? So that is what we love to see. So when Debo's here, it's just spread four ways instead of three. So it's a four-headed monster there. When one of them's hurt, even better, because they do not, put someone in Debo's role. That's not what they do.
Yeah.
They just, they focus it in on the players that are healthy. George Kittle just continues to kind of have a really good year, and Brandon Ayuk, I think, is one of my favorite buys right now. With Debo banged up, we know his injury history, and I looked ahead at the 49ers schedule, just absolutely juicy as can be for wide receivers rest of season. So,
Yeah, I think
Brandon
Ayuk is a
Ayuk,
real big high. Yeah, buy
yeah,
high,
Brandon,
big high.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's buy high because he's
he's
like,
number one on my list for like
oh
trade
yeah,
for.
so
Yeah,
yeah, that makes me feel better about it.
yeah,
Yeah, he's been crushing. I even think like Debo's a sneaky little buy if you're in a really good position. Because yeah, the 49ers schedule rest of the way is just way too good to ignore. So if you can get your hands on any of these 49ers players, I would take that chance and do it right now.
yeah.
Cool, man. Well, speaking of buys, kind of just run down some players, that you would trade for, and maybe like what's the situation where you would trade for them, and who are you looking to send some offers out for this week?
Yeah, I think we mentioned Ayuk and T Higgins. Those are like two in the top of my list. I think they're T is kind of like a buy low right now. Ayuk is probably like a buy at value. I think Kamara is a buy high. I mentioned a little bit earlier. If you're looking for a running back, I just think he's going to crush it the rest of the way. If you're desperate at quarterback, Dobbs is a buy low. Going to Minnesota, like he's going to have to learn the system. Who knows what's going to happen? But if you're in like a two quarterback league or super flex league and need somebody, maybe the Dobbs owner he just has an extra quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And then we talked about Gus Bus on the Ravens. He's a solid. He could be a solid RB2 rest of the year for the Ravens. He keeps putting up games like that. I mean, he's not gonna get three touchdowns every game, but he's gonna get all the rushing work. It seems like on a good team. So I think he's a potential. If you need a running back, go after him. James Cook, we talked about earlier. A couple of Bills players left. James Cook and Kincaid. I just think they're both talented, and I think they're just going to keep. They're going to get better. Cook might have some down games like he had, but I think it'll come back. He'll get more of that work.
Nice. Yeah, I'm with you on all of those. Yeah, love Ayuk as a buy. I'll throw Debo in there, for the same reasons.
Yeah,
Some other names that I have are, I don't know if it's buying high, buying low, or whatever. But I had a feeling about this last week, and my feeling has got even stronger. Austin Eckler, rest of the year. He was a top five pick in pretty much all fantasy drafts. Played like absolute shit, has been hurt. Nothing has gone right until last week. And, he didn't do much on the ground, but he's just that guy that when he's healthy, he's going to do it through the air. I think Herbert's looking better. I just have a feeling, man. I mean, his schedule is just bright green the rest of the way. I just have a feeling that it's the right time to get Eckler right now. Um,
yeah,
so, I bought him in a league we're in together last week. I gave up a decent amount for him, but that worked out. Another running back buy that I like is Devon A Chain. Guy's basically only played like two games, maybe three games. He's coming back week 11. They've already announced it, so we don't have to worry about his injury being a bigger deal than it might be. They pretty much said, after I think they have a week 10 bye. He's back and healthy week 11. So great news. I would just peek around your leagues if A Chain is on a team that's in the bottom third of your league. Just go ahead and give them a player that's playing now because they can't wait till week 11. So I like that if the situation's right.
Yeah. We got a quick question here from
Yeah.
Liam Spack. So he
Okay.
says, should I trade away Komet, Ridley, and Connor for Kincaid and Pittman? It's resounding yes on that one, dude.
Yes.
Go
Instant.
for it.
Yep.
That's a huge win for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are,
If that, hopefully you got offered that and you can just hit accept.
yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
would, yeah, that's a great trade for you. Kincaid is an upgrade over Komet. Pittman is an upgrade over Ridley. And, you're paying the Connor as your price to get
Yeah.
those upgrades, but he's out for more weeks and you don't have time. Like you explained to us earlier, you have a 2-6 record. You don't have time to wait. I just absolutely love that trade. Thanks for listening. I mean, you even picked players that we said are good buys right now. So I hope that trade works out for you. That is absolute perfect process trade to make right there. Great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Any other
else?
players you had?
Yeah, the another running back buy that I like because I feel like no one's talking about him. Javonte Williams just had absolute shit ton of carries 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I think he's fully healthy now. Um, just think about it. Like he had a devastating knee injury a year ago, and he came back earlier than expected. If Javonte Williams just would have sat out like the first 4 or 5 weeks of the year and then came back, and then what he did the last 2 weeks was his first 2 weeks, everyone would be like, oh my God, he's back, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. But like, since he's kind of played the whole time and not really done a whole lot, there's not a lot of hype around him. So I just feel like he's under the radar for some reason. And he's on a bye this week. So I like buying players that are on buys because you can like look around, and if there's a team with a bad record that has players on their bench because they're on bye, hey, shoot them an offer for someone
Yeah.
that's playing this week and see what happens. Yep, and then my last one is Chris Olave. He's getting way too many targets to be wide receiver 30 on the year.
That's a good
He's
one.
super
Yeah.
talented. Did you see the touchdown hit him in the head last
No,
week?
I missed that.
Running wide open down the right sideline, and the
Oh,
ball just hit him in the helmet.
oh, brutal.
Yeah, so I don't know what's up with him, but I mean, he can't, like, for the amount of targets he's had, he can't be any worse. So I think Olave is a buy low if anyone's willing to sell. Might come back soon for more trade questions. Yeah, man, bring it. We'll be around probably 5-10 more minutes tonight. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Come back every week, man. We'll talk about it. Hang
Yeah.
out the whole hour and ask as much as you want. All right, so before we get out of here, we'll talk a little waiver wire. I'm probably going to rely on you for this. I haven't set my waivers yet for any of my leagues this week, so I
No
will do
worries. I got
that
a
when
bunch.
the show is done. So I'm going to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So I've got QBs. Everyone's talking about Will Levis. Dude broke out huge.
4 TDs, three,
Four
four.
TDs, three to DeAndre Hopkins. I don't
That's
think we can
right.
expect that every week, but you never know. And I said it the last few shows and stuff. You want to buy a rookie when he's hot, because there's a good chance he'll keep staying hot. And I think that's more easily said at the running back, wide receiver position. But quarterback, you never know. Maybe he's just the guy, and he's going to be good. He's worth grabbing, especially if you need a QB. I also have. We talked about Dobbs already. I had Dobbs on there. I think again, if you're desperate, I think he could be a sneaky good grab. It just depends how long it takes him to learn the system in Minnesota. And then running backs, we talked about Amari for the Cardinals. He's getting all the carries, and until Connor's back, he's a starter every week. And then my next few running backs are all backups. It's just important to have backups off the waiver wire. Keep them on your bench. You don't never know what's going to happen to the guy in front of them. For Dallas, you've got Rico Dowdle. Dowdle. Did I say it right? Dowdle.
Dowdle, yeah.
Rico Dowdle. Yeah, we've got Elijah Mitchell out of San Fran. We didn't see him do much because CMC's a man, but we know things happen to CMC sometimes. And when it does,
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Mitchell is right there to step in and be Kyle Shanahan's number one guy. And then lastly, your boy Gainwell. Something happens to Swift. We see that they already love Gainwell in the passing game. I think Gainwell is going to see a lot more work. So they're just guys that shouldn't be sitting around, I think.
I,
Wide receivers. Oh,
real quick,
sorry.
while we're
Go ahead.
on running back waiver wires, I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you a question because I think there's a player that's going to be dropped in a decent amount of leagues this week that was a highly drafted player at running back. And I want to know if you have any interest in picking him up when someone drops him this week. It was the 2 carry for 0 yards and 0 fantasy point Miles Sanders.
Oh, no. At the beginning of the season, I told you I want nothing to do with Miles Sanders.
Yep, you got the dub on that one too.
I was like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with him. Now, it's another one where having the backup is great because Chuba
Yeah.
seems to be the guy there. But also, Carolina's, they'll get better next year, hopefully. Bryce Young he's made some good throws and stuff. Maybe they'll get better for fantasy purposes, and it's not just going to be the Thielen show.
Doesn't it make you wonder, like 2 carries for 0 yards, no catches? Is that more than just performance? I mean, they paid the guy like 40 or 50 million this offseason. I mean, is
Absolutely.
there something going on?
Coaches don't like him. He has a bad attitude. We've seen it before, right? Where coaches don't like a player or a player has a bad attitude about something, and they're like, "All right, you're on the bench. It's fine."
Yeah.
It could be. I wonder if we'll hear. Sometimes they keep it quiet till after the season or something, until after he's traded, or who knows. But we'll see if
But
something comes out about that.
it's tough because Carolina has two great matchups coming up in a row, and I have
Yeah.
Miles Sanders oddly enough on two teams where I'm really weak at running back. And I'm just like, oh God, I don't know what to do because I almost have to start him. Um, yeah, tough scenario there. Anyway, on to receivers.
So yeah, wide receivers. My boy Demario Pop Douglas on the Patriots. He's looking pretty good. I mean, I know the team sucks, but they get the Commanders this week. I was actually going to go to the game. Now that the Commanders are tanking, it's probably not worth the 2-hour drive to Gillette and back, and plus waiting in that parking lot, which has like one road in and out. So I think I'll watch the game from home.
Yeah, probably not your
But
best bet to wear your Commander's gear at
oh,
Gillette.
I was
Yeah.
planning on just wearing like a burgundy shirt and not going too hardcore there. Boston fans are crazy.
Yeah.
New England fans are great. Just Boston fans are crazy. It's a little different. Yeah. But yeah, Demario Pop Douglas, he's like a stash, I think. He could become something there. They don't really have anybody. Kendrick Bourne is, I think, out for the season now, I want to say.
No way. What happened to him?
He got hurt. I forget what he hurt, but I think he might be done for the season. And then next on the list, we talked about Khalil Shakir for Buffalo. He's just like an end of the bench stash. Because you never know if something happens. And then Michael Wilson with the Cardinals, with Kyler Murray coming back, he could just like have this rookie breakout that happens at the second half of the seasons, I think. He's really talented. He dates Sophia Smith from the women's national team, which is very important because she's a dime. Uh, and then Shaheed.
Rashid Shaheed. I was hoping
Rashid
you would say
Shaheed.
him. Yeah.
Yep.
He's got Chicago this week. Another
Yeah.
another
He's
long
just gonna go
touchdown
deep.
incoming.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
gonna get like 3 long touchdowns. I don't know. So he's gonna be. Everyone will be starting him in like DFS this week, guaranteed. Because he'll be a cheaper guy to get. Tight ends, I only have Trey McBride. If he's somewhere else still sitting around, just grab him. He's probably actually. I lied when I said Amari is the number one waiver wire pickup. It's probably Trey McBride this week if he's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Trey McBride just had a great week. Receiver question for you. Do you have any interest with Will Levis taking over at QB and their first matchup being against Pittsburgh, who can't guard anyone? Any interest in Treylon Burks? He's probably not very owned. He
Yeah,
has done.
so
He's been hurt all year.
I liked him at the beginning of the season actually a lot. I didn't end up getting any of them in redraft just because it didn't fall that way to me, which is lucky. The talent is still there, right? Like he's supposed to be talented. If this is his chance to make it work, maybe, and we'll see what happens. I don't think he's worth picking up right now if he's sitting on your waiver wire. Unless you have a deep bench, I think there's other guys. I think pretty much everyone else I talked about is a better option right
Agreed.
now.
Yeah, definitely like Shaheed. I mean, I think
Yeah.
he's just a beast.
Yeah. But the last ones I had is just some quick defenses for y'all. New Orleans, they actually have a really good schedule going forward, and not just this week. Cleveland has been awesome. They might not be available probably, but they get Arizona this week. So like some like deeper plays on defense that will most likely be available. The Falcons, I know they were terrible this week, but they get Minnesota. Dobbs is going to be new. He might not really know what's going on yet, so that's like a sneaky little matchup. And
What
then the
about the what
Giants get.
about I was gonna
Is
say
that going to ask?
The Raiders versus the
Yes.
Giants, like
So
massive
the
suck
Giants
off.
defense,
Yeah.
because all of the Raiders organization is gone, so who knows what's going to happen there.
Aiden
So I think
O'Connell
Giants
time, baby.
defense is a really sneaky play. That could
And
just be a horrible game. It could be
and
really,
and
really
and
bad.
the Raiders defense too. I mean,
Yeah.
with Crosby, you never. I mean, the Raiders defense is not good, but
Yeah, I
you
wouldn't
know,
start the Raiders defense just because with like all the coaches gone, I don't know.
I feel.
And
But
they
did
have
you want
nothing to play for.
that Jets and Giants game? Wasn't there like an NFL record for punts in the first half or something?
I don't know. I believe
I
it.
think there was.
I don't know.
It was
That
just
was rough.
absolutely disgusting. But yeah, that game is just going to be hard to watch.
Yeah.
I'm with
Do
you
you think
there.
Dayball's going to lose his job in New York? I don't think they can fire him this soon, but I thought they were going to be so much better this year.
What's their record?
I think they've
They're
won 2
two and
games.
six. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
So who do they play this week? Oh, they play the.
The Raiders.
If they lose to the
Yeah.
Raiders, he's fired. I'll
You think
call it
so?
now.
Yeah.
If they lose to the Raiders, who just fired the whole
Yeah.
organization, Brian Dable's fired. Fact.
I think that's probably fair. I don't think they will though. I think they're going to keep him till next year. I think they paid him too much money. I think they'll give him one more year to see what he can do. I wonder if they give up on Daniel Jones. I don't. They need too many things there.
Didn't they just pay him?
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
I don't get it.
haven't we learned like how often does paying a QB a lot of money like really work out? I mean, so here's the big QB contracts that have all just been awful, right?
Yeah,
Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones. You can almost kind of throw Trey Lance in there because they didn't pay him, but
but
they traded
they paid up for
three
him.
first
Yeah,
round picks, right? So
that's a whole nother scenario to go into. Is how many trade up for like top picks to get a quarterback has worked out well, and not many.
right,
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's
I mean
true.
that you live and die by the QB, man. That's what the NFL is.
I will say, I think like trading for Trey Lance, I think that has a better chance of working out probably than like paying an insane amount of money to a quarterback. Because at least it's a quarterback. Like, yes, you're trading your future a little bit, but you're getting a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract that you can build around, and that's how a lot of teams have won Super Bowls
Right.
because they can put the
Agree.
money everywhere else.
Dude, the Browns just if Deshaun he's broken, dude. I mean, they're just screwed. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
Let's see. We got a question here. KC or Browns defense rest of season?
Browns defense. I know they've got some hard games because they get to play the Ravens and Cincinnati, but the Browns have been really good on defense. And Kansas City, they kind of air it out. They let teams air it out on them, and they go back and forth. I would go Browns defense. So I think
I'll
Everett
go
will play
Browns
this week.
defense. They have a much better matchup in week 9. And just
Dude, Everett, find a different tight end. Here, like, give you some. I mean, I think I would start Taysom Hill over Everett. Right? Would you, Chris? Yeah.
yes.
Taysom Hill
Not
over
even not
Everett.
and not even think about it twice. Yes.
Yeah, Logan Thomas, Komet Njoku, Jake Ferguson, Schultz probably isn't
Musgrave.
available. Musgrave is where I put it. Yeah, no, I'd start Musgrave over him. Yeah, I would. And then Trey McBride, man, he's our top pickup. If Trey McBride's around, dude, please try to grab him. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't even mess around with Everett. I liked him at the beginning of the year a lot, and
Just
it just
tough
seems like they're
matchup
not
this
going to
week.
use him. Yeah, they have that, but also it just seems like they're not really going to use him as much as I was hoping they would.
Yeah. I mean,
But
they don't use him a ton, and I think Quentin Johnston is gonna start getting involved in the offense. I think
I was just
Eckler
going
is
to
gonna
ask you
start.
what you think about him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Eckler is gonna start getting involved more. I mean, I think the trajectory for Gerald Everett is down. right? I mean, there's two players coming into the fold that are going to get more looks than him. He had a nice little start to the year because Eckler was out, Johnston was a zero. But that's about to change. Yeah, Taysom Hill or McBride. They're probably one of them's probably available. Cool. Well, it was fun hanging out with you guys for the last hour. But we have to go ahead and check out this week. But Jeremy and I do this every Wednesday, sometimes on Thursday. But we always post it on Twitter. So just follow Nickel City Mafia on Twitter and on YouTube, and you will see when the show is about to drop. But Jeremy, thanks for the help, man. Let's keep
Yeah,
stacking
it's
up those
fun.
wins. And Liam, good trade that you made. I think you made live during the show, so that was pretty cool. Stop by next week and we'll talk about how that worked out for you. But it's always fun to help people out. So we'll catch you guys next week. Good luck.
See ya.